Welcome in. It is Big Ten Today. Great to have you with us on this Wednesday. Dave Revson and Trent Meacham. We are in the thick of it now.
I love it.
Football is behind us. It's all hoops all the time, and I'm fired up. We had some great games last night, some more good ones tonight. There are 3 games tomorrow. It's just on and on and on.
And there's no easy ones, right? No easy ones. I don't care if Minnesota's coming to the Kohl Center. There's no easy ones, and that's what makes this so exciting.
Yeah, that was interesting last night because I think if there is one team that maybe has early on looked like they might not be up at that level of the rest of the league, it's Minnesota. But if they play the way they did last night, they're going to get quite a few people during the course of the year. Let's dive into our big story. It is the basketball from last night. Again, 2 games, both seen here on the network. Michigan State jumped out to a 22-point halftime lead. They took down Nebraska 74-56, the Spartans' 5th straight win. That's surprising. That was the less competitive of the 2 games. As Trent mentioned, Wisconsin capturing its 6th straight, but they did get a battle from Minnesota, 63-60, and Tyler Wall left that game after rolling his ankle in the first half. So let's start with Wisconsin. A little closer than expected for sure. What did you take away from the way this game went down?
Well, there's 2 stats that just tell the story for me, and that's rebounding and turnover. So rebounding, Minnesota, they're the worst in the league at the boards, okay? And they out-rebounded Wisconsin 40-24, outscored them second chance points 12-0. That kept it competitive for Minnesota. Did a really good job, and they should be good on the boards. Pharrell Payne is a physical specimen as a freshman. Garcia, Jamison Battle both had 9 boards. That's what can make them be competitive. Wisconsin did not have their A game. Yes, Tyler Wall didn't play most of the game, but turning the ball over, 20-9 turnovers. That's where Minnesota really didn't take care of the ball. And where Wisconsin is so good at taking care of the ball, they don't beat themselves despite not playing great, despite getting really kind of punked on the boards. They were able to maintain a lead and close out a close game like they do seemingly every night out.
And there's something to be said for dominating or getting a significant number of offensive rebounds against Wisconsin, because while they don't go after the offensive glass at all, they are one of the best defensive rebounding teams by rebound percentage in the Big Ten year after year. So to get offensive rebounds against Wisconsin certainly says something. Ben Johnson talked about it after the game. Of course, we always carry those post-game news conferences, and he said 20 turnovers is bad, and this is a team that's last in the Big Ten in terms of turnover differential. Minnesota is. But he said it's especially bad against Wisconsin because this isn't really what they do. They don't really turn teams over, right? They're much more content to sit back and kind of make you earn it. They don't gamble. They don't try to get in the passing lanes. A lot of it was self-inflicted for Minnesota.
In a low possession game, every possession matters even more. And they're, even in the second half, they cut it to 3 with a lot of time left, 3 straight turnovers. You just can't do that. Final possession, Taylon Cooper turns over the ball. Chucky Hepburn steals it from him. So you just can't do that any night out, but especially against Wisconsin, who's so solid, so sound defensively. But you mentioned difficult being able to offensive rebound against the Badgers. They're positioned so well. Defensively, they don't get overextended. They're not gambling for steals, and that allows them to rebound. So I look at this for Minnesota. Hey, this is a recipe that you can take. You can take it on the road. You can take it anywhere. If you can really attack the boards, you're going to give yourself a chance. Now, can you just clean up those turnovers? I'm okay with Cooper turning the ball over a little bit because the ball needs to be in his hands.
6 times last night.
Yes, I know. I know.
That's more than a little, but I hear you.
But I'm okay because the ball needs to be in his hands. And I thought when they put the ball in his hands, they got better looks all around. He's averaging 7 assists a game. That's difficult to do, especially for a team that doesn't score the ball well. He's doing a fine job at the point guard position. There was a little bit too much iso ball early on, but Taylon Cooper, I thought, did a good job.
And he scored some last night, too. In fact, he had 16 points. He had 15 in the previous 3 games combined, and they need another scoring option, right? Because it's Jamison Battle and Dawson Garcia. There's so much on their shoulders, and there's so many other young players on this team. Cooper, a little more experienced guy. So if he can become a little bit more of an offensive force for them, that really bodes well.
No doubt. He has experience, and you see the attention that opponents give to Garcia and Battle. I thought Max Klesmit and Sean Morris really hammered this home on the broadcast. He was fantastic.
Klesmit was great defensively.
He was all over him, high hands on the catch, cutting off that left hand. So if Cooper can step up, Hey, we can go on the road to a top 20 team, one possession game in the final minute. That's what you want. Okay, now can you close the deal? That's not easy to do. That's what Wisconsin does so well. On the other side, Dave, I'm going to go to their point guard on the Badgers, Chucky Hepburn, was really good closing out both the first half and the second half. Made a lot of critical plays down the stretch defensively with that steal, both distributing the ball and scoring himself. If I can be critical with one thing with Chucky, though, is I thought he could be more aggressive. I know he scored the basketball, but especially with Tyler Wall going out, they need him to step up, and he has the ability. I just want to see him kind of force it at moments, that he can force it a little bit. It was really the freshman Connor Seagen that got them going last night. I love his aggressiveness, but Chucky Hepburn, really good game. I think he can do more, though.
It's interesting. We've talked about this during the course of the year. There have been players historically who have been able to play slightly outside of the system for Wisconsin. I think of Ben Bruss taking some shots that maybe others would not have been permitted to take because he was such a good shooter. Trayvon Jackson was a guy who improvised a little bit at times. And
Trayvon Hughes, Gordon Taylor.
Yeah, every once in a while you get someone because they are so system-based. But Hepburn certainly has the capability to be one of those guys. And as you mentioned, they were without their leading scorer and rebounder for the bulk of this game in Tyler Wall, and that might explain to a certain extent, too, the issues they had in cleaning up the defensive
I'm being
glass.
critical there with Hepburn because he had a good game, but
no, he did.
He has the ability to, I think, to take it up another level.
And you mentioned Wisconsin just figures out a way to pull it out at the end. So now this is 18 of their last 23 games decided by 5 points or less that they have won. It is just remarkable. The schedule does ramp up quite a bit here, Trent. They go to Illinois coming up on Saturday. Welcome Michigan State 6 days from now. Then they go to Bloomington before finishing that stretch with a home game against a very solid Penn State team. They have 2 road games after that against Northwestern and Maryland. Neither one of those figures to be easy. So this is a difficult stretch coming up here for Wisconsin. I think we'll really get a sense. I think they're a really good team. I assume you do too. But what will this stretch tell us about how good they truly are?
Well, they're going to be battle-tested on the road, and you're playing against some teams that do push the tempo a little bit. Illinois, Michigan State, especially with a full roster. Indiana at home pushes the ball a bit more. Penn State, such a kind of an enigma as a team, very difficult team to prepare for. So Wisconsin, it's always about slowing down the pace of the game, playing their brand of basketball. And you can do that on the road. It's easier to slow down a game than speed it up. So it's playing their brand and knocking down shots. This year, they're shooting the ball better from 3, 38% from 3. They knock down some shots. They're going to have a chance in any of those games.
That was one of the things that was so remarkable about last year. I mean, they were one of the worst outside shooting teams in the Big Ten and yet still figured out a way to be at the very top of the league. And again, it speaks to all the other things that they do so well, which you talked about. Don't turn the ball over. They rebound. They play great defense.
And Stephen Crowell's improvement. He's been really good. Leads the team in assists, knocks down threes. He can invert the offense, is effective in the low post and the high post. He's been fun to watch his growth.
It's amazing. A guy who played 39 minutes 2 years ago for the entire season, and now here he is. And as you say, his so many facets to his game. Such a great passer for a big guy. So that's the story with Wisconsin. What did you take from Michigan State's win against an improved Nebraska team? I mean, as we sat on the tip-off show last night, myself and Robbie and Coach Weber, we were talking about that figured to be the more competitive of the 2 games, and it was not. Michigan State, from the get-go, really jumped on a Nebraska team that had just held Iowa to 50 points.
Beautiful basketball. I loved how Michigan State played offensively, 24 assists on 31 made field goals. And how do they do that? All the other teams, the 3 other teams that played last night, the most anyone had was 10 assists. Michigan State, 24 assists. They pushed the ball like they always do. But this is a different Tom Izzo team. I think they're far more skilled than typical teams. Typically, his teams will just beat you up physically. They have great athletes, a lot of size inside. This team doesn't quite have that. They do have some athletes, but very skilled. When I look at Tyson Walker, I don't think he gets the respect he deserves. He's a top-tier guard in this league. He was fantastic last night. A.J. Hoggard, 9 assists. It's so difficult keeping him out of the paint. And Joey Hauser and Malik Hall, there's 4 guys, Dave, that are all experienced. They're all smart. They're skilled. And the way that they attack closeouts, I think they have a collection of guys, Jaden Akins, Pierre Brooks, there's more, that attack closeouts better than any other team I've seen. And they do a great job of getting the ball in the paint. Typically, that's through dribble drive, not post-ups, and then spraying that around. And they consistently passed up good shots for better shots. And it was just fun to watch that ball go up and down the court, inside and out, ball reversals. They didn't even shoot the ball that great, but they got such quality looks throughout that game. It was a lot of fun to watch.
They had a few possessions that we highlighted during the course of the night where the ball movement was just, to your point, really fabulous. And you have to do that against Nebraska because this is a Nebraska team that is giving people trouble on the defensive end. So I think it really speaks volumes even more so about how good Michigan State was offensively. I know in past years you've been able to take advantage of Nebraska's defense or lack thereof. That is not the case with this year. They have really played hard on that end of the court and have given people a lot of trouble.
I was surprised at the outcome because, yes, I like this Nebraska team. I think it fits Fred Hoiberg. I think they have a clear identity. Look, going to Lincoln is going to be a tough task, I think, this year. But this is a good team, and I thought, Michigan State, it just speaks to when they're playing well, when they're moving the ball, when they're sharing the ball. You talk about just this is a game of skill. They have as much skill as anybody, and they have experience. If they can stay healthy, there's no question they should be a top 3 team in this league.
One of the great statistical anomalies about Nebraska this year, they played 15 games, 14 of them have been decided by double-figure margins. They either blow people out or they themselves get blown out. Nebraska's got a game against Minnesota coming up this weekend. That's one both those teams probably have circled as a potential win. And there was one other piece of news in the Big Ten yesterday. Patrick McCaffrey announced that he is stepping away from the team for an indefinite period of time due to anxiety. He said it has pervaded every aspect of his life, everything from eating and sleeping to his performance on the court. First of all, just want to wish him the best. It's really courageous, I think, to step forward. This is an issue that is so pervasive, I think, in modern life, particularly for young people, particularly in this social media age. And for Patrick McCaffrey to just kind of lay it out, I thought his statement was fantastic. But what did you take from this, particularly as someone who has competed in that spotlight?
Yeah, first and foremost, Dave, my support goes out to Patrick. I don't know Patrick. I don't know the situation, but my support goes out to him. My prayer is just that he would, for his strength, for his stability, for his overall well-being. I hope he's back on the court sooner than later, but not because his team needs him, not because we want to watch him as fans and he's a great young player, but just because that shows that he's ready and he's healthy, he's ready to move on. And look, this is a young man that's not a stranger to adversity. He's had cancer. This isn't someone who hasn't seen anything. And, so it's you hate to see it, but give him a lot of credit for speaking out. They could have hid it in other ways, and he said, no, this is what's going on. So I applaud him for that and just hope that he's back sooner than later. And you mentioned this isn't an isolated incident. I think every time it's different. There was just a 22-year-old NBA player, Tyrell, that retired from basketball. He's at the pinnacle. This is what he's worked his whole life for. And he said, no, I'm done because it's just too much mentally. And there's so much that goes into that. I think, if anything, though, I just think of can we have a better perspective around the game? And we saw just Monday Night Football with DeMar Hamlin and how he went down. And can this be a reminder to us that, sports are great. All right, I love sports. They've been such a big part of my life, but they ain't everything, right? There's far more important things. And to remind us that these are first people and players second. And the identity of an athlete, it comes on you at such a young age, and you have so much focus on you. And I can't even imagine now with social media. That's such a strong identity. It's difficult to distance yourself from that. It's difficult to distance yourself from the outcome. But to remember that, hey, these are sons, daughters, brothers, sisters, spouses, parents. There's identities that supersede that of being an athlete. And so hopefully this is an opportunity for Patrick to get back out there and take some time and however much long he needs. But there's bigger things, there's more important things, and hopefully this is, people can come around and support him just like we saw Monday Night Football. Everybody's supporting, prayers, all that. It's a tough deal, but hopefully we're all learning and growing from this.
Yeah, well said. And again, it's just a really serious issue for young people in general, and I commend him for having the ability to step away from it and just say, to your point, there are other things that are more important, and I've got to get myself in the right frame of mind. So again, our thoughts go out to Patrick McCaffrey. Been a great story and a really wonderful guy to follow, and wish him the best here. Big story Monday in the Big Ten for the second straight year. Rutgers knocking off number 1 Purdue. This time they did it at Mackey. Cam Spencer hitting what turned out to be a game-winning three, 65-64 the final. First time the Scarlet Knights have ever beaten a top-ranked team on the road. Spencer, the transfer from Loyola of Maryland, leading the league in steals as well as an outstanding outside shooter. He joins us now. He is today's big interview. And Cam, congratulations on the shot. Congratulations on the win. What have the last couple of days been like on campus?
Yeah, thank you. Nothing new, honestly. Just kind of moving on and focused on Maryland now for Thursday. Very happy with the win. It was a tough road win. Purdue, it's a tough place to play, so a great win, but now we have to move on.
Well, I want to dwell on it. You can move on after we're done with the interview, but I need to dwell on it a little bit because that's kind of the point of having you on. Take me through your thought process on that shot.
Yeah, coming out of the timeout, coach had drawn up a good play where we usually try to get a three-point look out of it, but with how they played it, we kind of had to freelance a little bit, and Paul was able to get into the paint, and I kind of tried to shift over and give him a passing lane, and once he found me, I kind of shot faked, and the kid went for it, and then I just shot it, and luckily it went in, but great pass by Paul, and great job from him getting me the ball.
Absolutely. And then last 10 seconds, they had a couple of opportunities themselves to take the win back from you guys. Take me through that last sequence, a little bit crazy.
Yeah, it was. No, I mean, the game wasn't over. It's never over till the clock hits 0. So proud of our guys who were out there to get the stop. They made it tough. You know, they got a good look, and luckily it didn't go in, but we fought for the rebound and kind of had that last little 0.4 seconds to deal with, but you know, in the end we were able to pull it out, so really proud of our guys.
Any estimate on how many different people you heard from in the aftermath of that win?
I don't have a number on it, but there were a few people that reached out, but like I said, I'm really not focused on it, just worried about Maryland now.
I mentioned this is your first year at Rutgers. You transferred from Loyola of Maryland. You had all kinds of injury issues while you were there. Missed the better part of a season with a hip injury. Had another year that you missed portions of as well. How challenging was that for you to sit out in the heat of your career?
Yeah, it was tough. You know, I'm somebody who's fully committed to basketball, so when that gets taken away from you, you really are just kind of bored, and very frustrating during that time to not be able to be out there with your team and compete with them. So it really taught me to just appreciate every day that I get the chance to play basketball. So I really just try to appreciate every day now going forward.
How did you get back to playing at the level that you are now? Take us through that process of rehabilitation.
Yeah, just a lot of help from some great people. Just doing a lot of strength and mobility exercises for my hip so I could get back to the level that I wanted to be at. And you know, my hip feels great now, so just really thankful for all the people that helped me get back to where I am now.
You were really heavily pursued when you entered the portal. What made Rutgers the right fit for you?
Yeah, it really started with the first phone call with Coach Peichel, just you know, how passionate he was about his team and just everything that Rutgers had to offer. You know, I came on my visit and kind of knew right away that this was a place that I wanted to be, and a real family environment, and just couldn't be happier with my decision to come here.
Big Ten fans are familiar with your brother Pat. He famously transferred from Loyola to Northwestern after being named the best lacrosse player in the country. He won essentially the Heisman Trophy for lacrosse, ended up being a really good player for the Wildcats. I know he's pursuing a professional career in basketball right now. What advice did he give you about competing in the Big Ten?
A lot of advice. You know, he just said it's pretty much the best conference in the country, and night in and night out you're going to have to bring your best, and as a competitor that's all you want. You know, you want to be challenged and you want to go against the best, so he really just encouraged me to go after that challenge, and just gave me some insight into what it'll take to have success on this level.
You have another brother who plays basketball as well. Your dad played competitively. How much does your family drive you, Cam?
A ton. That's where the competitiveness starts. We fight and we battle with each other, but we always say we're each other's biggest fans. So, everything we do, whether it's basketball or golf or video games, whatever it is, we try to compete, and that's just our nature.
Who's the best golfer?
Competitively, I'd say myself, but my dad, my older brother, and I, we have some good battles, but we're all pretty even, I would say.
Who's the best basketball player?
Competitively, you have to say yourself. So I would say myself, but no, both Pat and Will are great players as well, and I've learned a lot from their games as well. So, just yeah.
Yeah, Pat's been a fascinating guy to follow. We were talking before the interview that he's playing in the G League now. He threw down a dunk I saw in the Summer League that had Steph Curry literally losing it on the sidelines. Bring people up to date on this amazing career that he has forged for himself after literally being the #1 overall pick in the lacrosse draft.
Yeah, from his freshman year of college lacrosse, he kind of knew that he wanted to play basketball professionally, and that was his first love. So, all summers in college, he was holding the ball in his hand, and right now he's playing with the Warriors G League team in Santa Cruz, and he's doing well, and I'm very proud of him, and he's been working his butt off and trying to make it to the NBA, and I do believe that he'll get there. So.
That'd be an amazing story. Rutgers basketball has turned into an amazing story, too, under Steve Peichel. And one of the reasons they have is that identity on the defensive end. As the lone newcomer on this team in terms of transferring in, obviously you've got freshmen as well, but how did that identity kind of get conveyed to you? That hey, this is who we're going to be. We brought you in to be a shooter and all the things you could bring offensively, but at the end of the day, defense is what gets it done.
Yeah, that was one of the main points that Rutgers prides themselves on, especially Coach Peichel, just playing hard on the defensive end and 5 guys being connected on that end, and then you have the freedom to do what you want on the offensive end. So since day one, Rutgers prides themselves on defense, and I think our team is that what makes this kind of special is that we really do take pride in the defense that we play.
You mentioned you've got Maryland coming up tomorrow, so now I'll give you some time to give us some insight there. What's the biggest challenge against the Terps?
They're a good team. They're a drive-heavy team, so they like to get into the paint, and they have a lot of capable playmakers on their team. So really talking about being able to guard your yard and keep them out of the paint is something that we're emphasizing going into the game.
Any special incentive as a Baltimore native for you?
A little bit. I mean, that's the hometown team, so obviously want to get the win, but nothing too much.
All right, well, Cam Spencer, congratulations on a great start here at Rutgers. Been fun to watch you fit in on this team, and best of luck here going forward.
Thank you for having me.
Back on Big Ten today, we took a look at the standings. Wisconsin, Ohio State, Michigan, the only unblemished teams in conference play. Rutgers, Purdue, Penn State, Michigan State, all 2-1. Illinois, Iowa, Minnesota, all in search of their first conference wins. I mentioned it going into the break. Trent has a New Year's wish for every team, a little
wish resolution.
Yeah, okay, a little takeoff on
Same thing,
New
yeah.
Year's resolution.
Yeah.
All right,
do it.
Let's start at the top with the Badgers. What's your wish for Wisconsin?
Let's give them some respect in 2023, right? I don't know if they necessarily want it. I think they kind of like being underrated, but they deserve some respect. Always underrated, always at the top of the conference, though. Just get it done. Doesn't matter the players, rinse and repeat. Let's respect them a bit more in 2023.
It's hard to understand why, right? It feels like it's every year. I mean, they have the second best record in conference play over the last 4 years in the Big Ten, and yet every year it seems like we're singing the same song. They are so good and so consistent. How about Ohio State?
Let's give Bryce Sensabaugh more minutes. Under 22 minutes a night, 16 points, 4.5 rebounds. His shooting numbers he's almost a 50-50, 50% from the field, 50% from three, shoots it well from the free throw line. This guy's a star. I know he wasn't a top 20 recruit, but he is so good, maybe the best talent in the Big Ten. Chris Holtmann, maybe give him a few more minutes here in 2023.
He wasn't even a top 50 recruit.
Yeah.
I mean, he was the 64th ranked recruit in the class. I always find that fascinating because it seems like basketball, there are far fewer times where the recruiting rankings are askew than there are in football, because you see all these guys, as you well know, at AAU tournaments, you see them compete against one another, you know who can play, but they definitely got that one a little bit wrong. What's your wish for Michigan?
Improve play in the clutch. Okay, they've been right there against Virginia, against North Carolina, against Kentucky, some big opponents. They're right there against Central Michigan, didn't get it done. A couple times, the ball in their hands with opportunities to close out games, to win or tie in the closing seconds, have not got it done. Someone needs to step up and make a play in the clutch to win one of those tight games.
They are a tough team to figure out. I mean, in these last two games, you lose to Central Michigan and then you absolutely obliterate Maryland. That kind of tells you everything you need to know about the Jekyll and Hyde nature of that team. What's your wish for Rutgers?
So good defensively, but I want their offensive energy to match their defensive intensity. Because at times it can get very stagnant. The ball bounces, it's not moving. But when they do move that ball, when Paul Mulcahy is not just ISOing and in ball screen, but it's moving around, they're pretty good offensively. They have a lot of guys that can attack the basket, but they need to attack closeouts and not a set defense.
He really played well in that game against
fantastic,
Purdue. He was tremendous. If they could get that Paul Mulcahy or the Paul Mulcahy we saw in February of last year, and I realize he hasn't been 100% for a lot of this year, but man, they'd be something else. How about Purdue?
Purdue, they got to improve their outside shooting. They're at the bottom of the league, 30% from three. And look, they're getting good looks. You know Zach Edey is going to get you just step in three-point shots. Brandon Newman has picked it up of late. I think Foster Lawyer, I know he's got a lot on his shoulders, especially as a freshman, can shoot it better. Braden Smith has shot it pretty well. Smaller sample size, but you're going to need First and Gillis and Morton to knock down some shots because they're going to be there. Teams are going to load up on Edey. They got to knock down some outside shots, though.
To your point, 13th in the Big Ten in three-point percentage, and you wouldn't think it as you watch them. I mean, it feels like it should be a better shooting team.
I think they are a better shooting team, and that's a scary proposition if they do pick it up.
Yeah, I know if they do pick it up, look out for everyone else in the league. Penn State's been a pleasant surprise. What's your wish for them?
Just that they can have good recovery, okay? This is the oldest team in Division I, nearly 4 years of experience across the board, okay? Multiple fifth-year guys. Jalen Pickett probably has as much on his plate as anybody in the country. So they need to be investing in the cryotherapy, the ice baths, all that stuff, Dave, massage therapists, so that they're ready to go night in, night out in the gauntlet of the Big Ten.
I mean, it's not like they're 40.
No,
right?
no, it's not. But they're playing a lot of minutes.
22, 23, I mean.
I played in my 30s. There's a difference in playing in your 30s than there is at 20.
Yeah, all right. Talk to me when you're 53. Michigan State rounding into form. Where are you going with them?
A full roster, okay? They have a lack of depth, especially inside. And we saw it when Malik Hall was out. Jay Nakin's, still kind of coming into form, I think. But if they're complete, especially in the interior, I think they should compete for the Big Ten title. I talked about them earlier. Extremely skilled and experienced team. I like this team, but they got to be healthy.
It's amazing. We were talking about this yesterday. They allow 10 fewer points per 100 possessions with Malik Hall on the court than with him not on the court. I mean,
wow.
10 per 100 possessions is huge, right? I mean, it's enormous. So we'll see whether or not him being back in the lineup, whether that makes a difference for them. But they do feel like they're getting better. How about Indiana?
Healthy Xavier Johnson. They need their senior emotional leader at the point guard position. I do think this is an opportunity for Hood Schifino to emerge more as a leader. But if he can play like he played at the end of last season, this team will compete for a Big Ten title, and they have the pieces to make a deep NCAA tournament run, but they need him healthy.
That's a damaging injury, for
yes,
sure.
It is, yeah.
And you certainly hope that he gets back out there quickly. Where are you going with Northwestern?
Can we get them a home court advantage, Dave? Okay, they have the under 3,500 attendance night in, night out. Beautiful arena. My first time there since I played in 2009, just a few weeks ago. Mm-hmm. Beautiful arena. This is a competitive team in the Big Ten. But, you can eke out a few more wins if you have a suffocating home court advantage. Let's get that for them. And what hurts them is a lot of Chicago alums at other Big Ten schools, and the crowd can be against them at certain nights.
Well, this is not a new problem.
No,
I
it's
mean,
not.
in the 11-team Big Ten, I know that 9 of the other 10 schools had more alums in Chicago than Northwestern. I don't know whether that changes with Nebraska and Rutgers, but yeah, the students could show up. I think that's the place.
It's a good team. It's a
yeah, they
team.
are. But it's
and it makes a difference.
A small school with a disparate alumni base, but it is a perpetual problem. What's your wish for Maryland?
Less ISO ball. Okay, this team averages the least assists, 11 assists a night. Jameer Young, 3 assists. I'm not sure if another guy is over 2 assists a game. So too much ISO ball, that won't get it done in the Big Ten. They got to move the ball around, share it more. They'll shoot it better if they do.
There are only 2 Power 5 teams with a lower percentage of their field goals assisted than Maryland. So kind of speaks to
it's tough to score.
What you're talking. It is. Where are you going with Nebraska?
They got to believe in themselves. Okay, this is a team, these guys have experienced a lot of losing, and can they do it consistently? They got a huge win against Creighton and dropped 3 straight. Had the big win at home, dominated Iowa, and then really wasn't competitive at Michigan State. I know the Spartans were, they were playing fantastic, but it's about belief for them, their mindset.
That's the problem. You see it in stretches, but can you see it consistently from them? That's kind of the next frontier. What's your wish for Illinois?
Chemistry. Okay, there's a lot of new faces, freshmen, transfers. They have a league high, over 15 turnovers a game. That won't get it done. Defensively, they can be very good. They've been very good in moments, but offensively, they need that chemistry. They need to trust one another. They need to share that ball better. If that can happen, I think this team will be in the top half of the Big Ten.
It's hard. 7 newcomers in a 9-man rotation. This is the new day and age in college basketball, but I think you see that sometimes it takes time. What's weird to me is that it felt like it was better at the beginning of the year than it has been recently. We'll see whether they can get it back.
They face some adversity, and that's where I think chemistry needs to improve.
Where are you going with Iowa?
Gotta get it done on the defensive end. Gotta change the defensive identity. They're giving up a league high 71 points a game. They give up 44% shooting. That's the highest of any Big Ten team. What they're allowing. They have the pieces, and I think they play individually. They do get after it, but collectively as a unit, that's where they're not there and have to buy into that end of the floor. We know they can score offensively, but if they can get some stops and take pride in that, they can be competitive.
It's an ongoing issue as well. We've seen some incremental improvement through the years. Whether or not that carries over to this year, we will see. And finally, Minnesota.
Well, Minnesota did this last night. Win the rebounding battle. They're the league low. The margin is negative 2.5 rebounds that they have less than their opponents on the year. Now, they dominated Wisconsin last night. They have the size inside. Jamison Battle, Dawson Garcia, experienced guys. Pharrell Payne has the girth and the explosiveness that can really get it done. So that's where they should dominate. If they can do that on the offensive boards and defensive boards and really control the paint, they'll be competitive in games.
They're going to miss a lot of shots. I mean, look, that's just the reality. I don't mean that. I mean, it's just the reality of kind of where they are right now. That's a way for them to steal some points. Go get it. Because, as you say, they are a team that's well built for that. Maybe last night becomes a jumping off point there for them, because I do think it showed how much more competitive they can be with those second chance points.
I think you go on the road and you're there at the closing minute against Wisconsin, a top 20 team. That should be a template for how we can have success in this league.
I like it. I like the wish list. We'll make it an annual thing.
Let's do it.
Yeah, or maybe even we'll do monthly resolutions, right? We can have February resolutions as well.